Hey, what's up everyone? It's Chantel here from Vegas Fitness, and today I'm going to be talking about a movement that not only will hopefully help you reduce your lower back or knee pain, but also help you improve any dysfunctional movement patterns you may have in everyday life that may lead to future injury. So what is this movement, you ask? It is known as the hip hinge. The hip hinge is actually something we do in everyday life, whether we're picking things up from the ground, walking up the stairs, or just tying our shoe. So if you're interested on learning how to hip hinge properly or just how to improve your hip hinge, watch the rest of this video. I promise you won't regret it. All right, now we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into what the hip hinge is and how to do it. So basically, when we're thinking about the hip hinge, we're thinking about bending from the hips. So when we're picking things up from the ground, a lot of us will either really put a lot of pressure on our knees to grab something, or we might bend through the knees and then really round our back. So to break those compensations, we want to learn how to specifically just move through our hips. And basically, it kind of looks like something like this. It may look really easy, but it actually is really hard when you break it all down. So what we're going to start from the ground and work our way up. First, we always want to start at our feet because our feet is the foundation for our entire body. So with our stance, we either want to start about hip width or maybe a little bit narrower. It's going to depend on your body and how you feel while you're doing this. So my hip hinge is going to look a lot different than your hip hinge or his hip hinge or her hip hinge. It's all going to look different. So really go with how this feels. So I'm going to start a bit narrower than hip width, and I'm going to duck out my feet just a little bit. We always want to have a strong foundation in our feet, so think about having pressure right underneath your big toe, right underneath your pinky toe, and through your heel. From there, we're going to try a little bit of external rotation at the hips. When you keep those key points planted, you'll almost feel like you're lifting your arches, and you're going to feel a little tension in the glutes. From there, it basically kind of looks a little something like that. If you're kind of having this as a challenge for you, there's a video above in our bio that you can look at to kind of help you with foot stabilization, and hopefully that will help you perfect that. Now we're gonna move up to the hips, because this is one of the most important parts of the entire exercise, is maintaining a nice neutral spine. So when we're thinking about our hip movement, we always want to think about being in a neutral pelvis. So basically, we never want to be really, really extended where our rib cage is flaring. I have a really big curvature through my back, and we also don't want to be really rounded. We're almost tucked under, kind of hunched forward. We want to play around with that and find a good position. When we find that, we want to keep our core really, really braced, keep our rib cage down, and maintain that position. Once again, if you're really struggling with this, there's another video above about core activation and maintaining a braced feeling. Now, the last thing we want to talk about is we want to maintain that back nice and flat. So the next thing is making sure those shoulders are engaged. So we never want to be rounded forward. We want to have a nice, strong posture. So keeping those shoulders back and the rib cage down will help perfect that. So from here, all we're gonna do is have a slight bend through the knees. Reminder on this, we're just moving through the hips. So there's not a lot of knee bend. Your knees might bend maybe 20 degrees, and there's not a lot of movement through the back at all. We're thinking about keeping that nice brace feeling. From here, we're just going to push the hips back, keeping them high as possible. And then you'll feel the weight almost shift into the middle of the feet, into the heels, and you'll feel some tension in the hamstrings. From there, you're gonna bring the hips through and stand up nice and tall. Try a few of those, and if you're really, really struggling, check out these next few videos that will hopefully help you improve that. All right, so the first one we're gonna do is a dowel hip hinge. So if we're having a lot of trouble maintaining that nice flat back, this one will be great for you. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna get this right on your back here. So it should always kind of be hitting some three kind of main points, right at your butt there, right on your back, and kind of your head. From here, all we're gonna do is we're gonna think about the feeling we just talked about, that nice strong stance.